Lost and Found. Written and read by Lynda Bellingham. It was a crisp, clear October morning in Montreal, Canada. The sun glinted on church spires. The trees on the hills round the city were a blaze of red and gold against a clear blue sky. A young woman, clutching a bundle in her arms, climbed into a yellow cab. As the taxi made its way through the morning rush hour, her eyes turned down to the baby in her arms. She drank in every feature of the upturned little face and whispered urgently, "I love you. Remember, I will always love you. No matter what, you will always be loved. Keep that thought with you always. I do love you." The cab stopped and she struggled out, then climbed the steps up to the front door of a large townhouse, a doctor's surgery. The door opened and the young woman was swallowed up inside. Anyone watching would not have long to wait before the door opened again and the girl reappeared, no longer holding the baby. She seemed bereft, lost and defeated. She moved down the steps and crossed the road, taking cover from the winter wind that would soon bring the snow. A few minutes later, across the street and round the corner came a couple. He was handsome, wearing a pilot's uniform. Tall and ramrod straight. The young woman was beautiful and very elegant in a fitted suit, with a neat hat set at a jaunty angle. She had her arm through his, and they were laughing. They looked happy and so full of hope as they entered the house. As the girl waited, pulling her coat round her for warmth and comfort, the door opened again and the couple emerged, engrossed in the bundle between them. The man helped his wife down the steps while she carried the baby, their faces shining with love. They walked to a car, parked just round the corner, and the young woman carefully handed the bundle to her husband before she got in the back. Then her husband handed her the baby. She was smiling as he shut the door and walked round to the driver's side. As he started to move slowly out into the traffic, the young woman in the bus shelter stepped into the road, and, as the car passed her, she began to run after it. The young husband caught the movement and looked back at her in his driver's mirror. The girl was standing with her arms stretched out towards the departing car. She was howling with grief. I was that baby. She was my mother. I was lost. Then she was found. In November 1948, Don and Ruth Bellingham flew back to England with their new baby girl. My dad was actually piloting the plane, so it was an even more auspicious occasion. Quite early on in the flight, however, an engine caught fire, and my father had to take the decision to turn round and go back to New York to land. So I was causing trouble from day one. In those days it was a big deal to fly the Atlantic, and I was presented with a certificate pronouncing me a member of the Honourable Order of Pond Hoppers. It's signed by my dad, Captain D.J. Bellingham, and hangs in my lavatory. This always made my dad smile, because he felt it should have been hanging somewhere more salubrious, but I would tell him that I wanted everyone to see it. My dad was the youngest of 4 boys. During the war he was posted just outside Oxford. My mother was working in a factory in Headingley, near where she lived. Their courtship was conducted in the local pub and riding their bikes down country lanes. But it was only when he retired from BOAC, now British Airways, that he went back to his roots and took up farming. When my parents came back to the UK in 1948, we first stayed in a little cottage on the farm owned by my paternal grandfather at Great Kingshill, Buckinghamshire. It was the beginning of my love for the country and life on a farm. My nan used to take me out to a huge cherry tree in the garden in the summer, and I would help her pick cherries. We would make a picnic and have our tea under this beautiful spreading tree. In winter, we used to have our tea round a big table in the parlour. I always wanted to watch Robin Hood, starring Richard Green, and my mother would say no, but my nan would say yes. Guess which one I listened to. Around 1950 we moved to Bristol. I must have been about 2 or 3.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?